All right, so Cyberpunk 2077. Honestly, I don't even know where to begin. The biggest question that you're probably asking yourself is, should you get it? There's a lot of people who are on the fence, a lot of people who, really want it, a lot of people who've, kind of paid attention to the hype. They don't really know. It doesn't seem like a game for them, but there's so much hype about it. Where do you go? And the biggest thing is, on YouTube, you see a lot of people who have basically just called the game a pile of junk. Some people have just called it a disappointment, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from. There are some glitches in the game. I mean, in today's world, that's just unfortunately a fact of development. There are going to be glitches, and the main thing is how detrimental are those glitches to the actual gameplay process. So I'm going to cover that. But before I do, if you are interested in the single player story driven experience, games like Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, games like Fallout 3 or 4 or New Vegas, if those games interest you, then Cyberpunk will definitely be a good game for you. Now, before I actually get into what I like about the game, let's talk about what players are talking about, the negatives, the glitchiness, some of the bad aspects that people seem to be focusing on is ruining their play experience. Now, unfortunately, it is quite easy to see since the beginning of the game, there were obvious issues. Just the cosmetic items not appearing on your character. You can look in a mirror, you're not wearing anything, you look back in the mirror, and of course you've got a vest on. You just see these things very obviously. There were some other slightly more annoying issues where, you just could see an item on the ground, but you couldn't pick it up. And this has happened multiple times. There's other just annoying little glitches where character animations are completely erratic. They just move randomly. You just see things just going through walls. It's annoying. But then we got to go into more, I guess, concerning gameplay issues. There's times where the enemies don't respond. They kind of fall on the ground. Some of them don't get up. It's happened multiple times. And it's happened in the very beginning of the game. It's not just a random off occurrence. Of course, another thing that people love to focus on is the driving. And honestly, at first, I was a little bit terrible at driving. Let's just admit it. Okay, I was a little bit terrible. But after driving for like 5 or 10 minutes, I did get the handle of it pretty well. It's not very uncommon for games like this to have slightly off driving mechanics. Look at Grand Theft Auto. It's not a perfect driving game. Look at Halo. Halo. The Warthog is one of those infamous driving vehicles where it's just ugh. This happens in games that are not designed to be racing games, right? This is not Project Gotham Racing. This is not Forza. This is a open world, sandbox style game. And the driving, for all, its problems, is fully functional. And once you get used to it, it's not a big issue. Of bigger concern, however, is, some of the combat mechanics. Now, combat is not a free-flowing, very smooth affair. Sometimes you can get lucky and it plays really well. Other times, depending on what you're doing, depending how you're trying to move about, you can get into some issues. Sometimes it feels a little bit disjointed. Sometimes the aiming feels a little bit fuzzy. And my biggest thing with the combat in general is just the mechanics of movement and stuff like that. Sometimes the game just won't let you crouch. And that is incredibly annoying. You're trying to run up to a piece of cover, get down so the enemy can't shoot you, and you're just standing there like an idiot, unable to crouch. Other times you've got enemies who just, they just literally stand there like a brick and don't do anything. Now that one's a little bit more rare, but the control scheme is generally something that I hope they fix. That's something that I hope they really work on, because I don't like running into cover and then not being able to duck down. That's aggravating. And of course, probably one of the most concerning things in the game is just the amount of, I guess, freeze framing. The game just kind of freezes up. You can still hear sound and stuff like that, which is very odd. But the game just freezes up, freezes your screen. You're not moving. You're not doing anything. Now, of the about 12 hours that I've played of this game so far, I would say I've crashed about 4 times. And I've frozen probably about 8 times. So about half of the times that I've frozen, I have crashed. Which isn't that bad. It's not that huge of a worry, because the system does have a very robust autosave, and you can relatively easily continue where you basically froze at. Now, possibly the most annoying thing for my personal experience is, for some reason, whenever I'm in a menu or in a dialogue option, some sort of weird menu that's not related to actually gameplay, my controller is constantly scrolling downwards. And I've messed with the dead zone, and nothing improves this. So I definitely hope there's some sort of fix with this, because the controller is not doing this whenever I'm aiming. It's not doing this whenever I'm moving my character, and there's really nothing in the game that can actually allow me to fix this. So that is incredibly annoying, and that is probably the biggest issue that I hope they fix, because it's just aggravating going through your menu, trying to select items when your menu is constantly moving. But what this game excels at is its just immense world, its insane environments, basically just, this delightful dystopian future that it's presented to us. It is an amazing world that they've crafted. Now, just to clarify my position, right? I am not really one to enjoy the single-player story-driven game. I have not actually enjoyed these types of games for a while. I've really been focused more on the MMO light type games, like Destiny, Division, even Warframe from time to time. Those types of games, the looter shooter genre, are pretty much what I really, really enjoy. And since they've started coming out, I've pretty much ignored most other types of games. I don't really have the desire to play them. And this one not being a multiplayer game, at least as of yet, is definitely something that is an oddity to me. I don't really want to play these types of games. But this game has piqued my interest. So with that out of the way, one thing that I want to highlight is the actual customization of your character. That is something that's actually important to me. Not so much the overall look of your character, but the actual performance, just the selection of how you actually want to engage the game. That is what appeals to me. Now, I've heard people say that, it's kind of disappointing. The options aren't really meaningful. And, it can kind of be true, right? I mean, your skill tree is rather straightforward. It's not going to, blow any hinges off the doors. It's very, simple. I mean, it is simple. However, what the game does is it adds multiple simple systems to create a more complex one. Your perks and your attributes are not the only source of character development. So, I mean, if you look at everything as a whole, you've got your perks and your abilities, you've got your weapons and your mods, you've got your armor and your mods, and then, of course, you've got your own cybernetic enhancements and the mods that go with those, not to mention your different abilities for, hacking different objects. There is a wide range of things to craft your character with. And this is part of what makes the game interesting to play through, because you can switch things up. You can change how you actually want to play. And so not only is it easy to actually do this and dive into, the different aspects of it, but because of the size of it, just the amount of variety that you can pick with any different aspect, there is a ton of variety there. So you can just go into, being fully spec'd into a specific weapon. You can go fully spec'd into a specific, melee ability or just different combat aspects. You could be full stealth. You could just be, a brawler knocking down the doors. It doesn't matter. You can pick all sorts of aspects to enhance the way that you like to play this game. Now, with that being said, this is a story-driven single-player game. So if that's what you enjoy, that is the focus of this game. And like I've stated, many of those glitches are focused on things that are not that, right? I mean, there are no real problems with the story of the game. There isn't really any problems with the actual character development of the game. The story, the environment, everything like that is sound, which is why this game definitely has an appeal to it. And honestly, I'm not one to give a pass for, glitches and errors in a game. I don't enjoy that, right? I'm paying for a game, and I expect it to work fairly well, pretty much right from the get-go. And unfortunately, it doesn't have everything locked down. But this is not just one random publisher. This is not, a greedy EA or Ubisoft. This is a company that has proven itself over and over again that it supports its fans, that it basically is willing to go the extra mile to improve things. This game has been delayed for 9 months because they were trying to polish it up more and more and more. And of course, as I speak, there's supposed to be patches, and probably by the time I even publish this video, some of the stuff might already be patched, might already be fixed. And I have all the confidence in the world that they are going to continue upgrading and fixing this game. And, maybe we are beta testers because we bought it early. But, I don't mind. I am enjoying my time in this game. And I cannot really say that about any other games out there now. Like I said already, this is about single-player, story-focused entertainment. And that is what it provides. Just the amount of characters that you can find in the game, the interesting dialogue options, the way that you can alter the course of your game, all of that stuff exists, and it is fun and entertaining. Like I said earlier, if you like Fallout, if you like Elder Scrolls, if you like Syndicate, if you like Grand Theft Auto, there are so many games that this can compare to in a very favorable manner. And Cyberpunk 2077 definitely sets the bar high on a number of aspects in basically game creation. So in all honesty, it's really up to you. Are a few issues that are probably going to get patched out relatively quickly enough to stop you from playing this game? Are you so interested in the games that you are currently playing now to just pass this up? Now honestly, I'm not going to fault you if you say, you know what, I'm just going to hold off and wait. I mean, there's no reason not to. But at the same time, if you are looking for something right now, if you want to play something right now, this game has a lot to offer, despite any of the little glitches, any of the little, issues with the game that are going on right now. This is one of the studios that is actually credible. This is one of the studios that I actually support. This is the main reason why I bought the game early, because I support CD Projekt Red. You compare that to Ubisoft games, compare that to EA games, 2-3 years later, they still have massive issues in those games. Massive issues. Looking at you, Division. And they don't really care about fixing them all the time. They sometimes just ignore them because, players already bought the game, we don't care. CD Projekt Red is not really that company. They are, for all intents and purposes, they are a good company that I want to support. I want them to dive into other franchises. I want them to create the next looter shooter. I want them to create the next PvEVP experience that I'm going to dive into and love. And honestly, if I could pick a single studio that I would support to create the perfect game for me in the future, it would be CD Projekt Red. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.